Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Wildlife podcast. I am your host Courtney, and before we even begin this week's episode, I really wanted to take a moment to apologize for the missing episode from last week. I have had a few health concerns these past couple of weeks, so I thought it would be a good idea just to rest and take a little break. But we are back, and I missed you guys, and I missed filming and teaching you guys about our Australian wildlife, but we're here, and I thought because we are nearing the end of the year and going into next year, we have some big changes here on the podcast, which I am still yet to let you guys in on, so I should probably do that sooner rather than later. But since we are changing things up, I thought this episode would be a fun episode to create and kind of discuss all of Australia and our wildlife, but more specifically our dangerous animals. And I thought it'd be a fun little game to kind of rate on a scale from 1 to 10 how dangerous our animals are, based on how likely you are to encounter the animal, how many deaths occur, if it's venomous, if it's poisonous, if it has one of the strongest bites from an animal in the world. So I thought you guys could play along at home, whether that's just in your head or even leaving a comment on what you would have rated the animal on a scale of 1 to 10 on how deadly you think it is. So whether you're listening here in Australia and you know our wildlife, or you're listening from the United States, India, the UK, please play along. And I would love to hear your guys' opinions on this as well. So let's get straight into it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for being so patient with me last week with not releasing an episode. But let's jump straight into it. Thank you so much again. I feel as if there's a stereotype with our Australian wildlife that everything here is out to kill you. And I mean, we do have 66 of the most venomous species on Earth. From our snakes to our spiders, our jellyfish, we have our saltwater crocodile, which does indeed have the strongest bite force of any species on Earth. We, of course, have our sharks, like our great white sharks, which are hugely misunderstood and actually only kill about one person per year. So I thought, let's discuss our dangerous animals here in Australia. I mean, we have spoken about our stonefish, which I think was episode 14. If you haven't listened to that one and you would like to learn a little bit about it, I'll link it in this video. We, of course, spoke about our blue-ringed octopus, which does have the most toxic venom on the planet. Here in Australia, we have our inland taipans and our Sydney funnel web spiders. So, yeah. I must agree with you guys. We do have some incredibly venomous or poisonous creatures, but to say that they are out to kill you? No. This is just not true. All of the animals that we are going to be discussing in this episode uses either their venom or their poison or their bite to defend themselves, and of course to hunt. But when it comes to human attacks, it is the majority of the time the animal defending itself. A human has gotten too close. Just take our death adders, where they camouflage and they kind of think that, you aren't going to step on them. So when you do, they tend to bite. Okay, so a lot of death adder bites are on the ankles or the feet or the bottom of the leg. This isn't the death adder purposely, trying to hurt a human. And like our stonefish and our blue-ringed octopus, they don't know how venomous they are. They're not classed as intelligent beings. They don't understand, that humans do have to take precautions and be vigilant and respectful with our wildlife. So let's get into some of our most dangerous or deadliest animals here in Australia. And again, if you'd love to play along, leave a comment or play along in your head, maybe get a piece of paper and rate what you think these animals are on the deadly scale. So let's start with an animal that here in Australia can be found in freshwater and also in saltwater. And no, it's not our beautiful saltwater crocodiles. It is our bull sharks. So we're going to rate these animals from how likely you are to encounter them. So their numbers and their populations, their behavior. Are they aggressive? Are they a chill species? And their toxin levels if they do have venom or a toxin. Our bull sharks don't though. But our bull sharks are a little bit aggressive. So let's get into that. Now, like I mentioned, they are typically found in saltwater systems and also in fresh water like our rivers. And right here in Brisbane, they are found in our Brisbane River. So typically our marine life that inhabit our salt waters, our oceans, they store high amounts of salt in their bodies. But with our bull shark can actually regulate that concentration of salt and be able to kind of adapt to their environment. So they can actually minimize salt loss, or they can increase it depending on whether they are in our freshwater, like our rivers, or if they are traveling through our oceans. If we are talking about encountering our bull shark, I have actually encountered a few of our shark species, and the bull shark is one of them. I was not in the water, I was actually on a boat, and funny enough, I was actually on our river. So I was at the port of Brisbane heading over to Tangalooma, and I encountered a bull shark on the way over there in our river. So encountering them does rise, the chance of encountering them. This is just because they inhabit two regions, our oceans and, of course, our freshwater system or our brackish systems. Also, their location plays a massive role in encountering them. They can actually be found in estuaries, they can be found in lagoons from Sydney all the way over to Perth. With the bull shark inhabiting such murky water as well, the chance of seeing one if you are in the water is highly unlikely until, it's touched you or it's bitten you, just because I got a little bit too curious or, it was like, oh, someone's in my home. So actually seeing a bull shark is a little difficult. Of course, if you were in the ocean, in the open ocean, it's a lot more clear. So you might be able to see the bull shark before it gets too close to you. But with our bull sharks globally, all around the world, there have been 100 unprovoked attacks per year. They actually come in third place for our shark attacks. First place is our great white shark, second is our tiger sharks, and then the bull shark. I must admit, bull sharks, let's think of it like humans. Every single human has a different personality. We can get angered, we can get sad. This is exactly like our bull sharks and our sharks in general, and animals really. But our bull sharks tend to have a little bit more of that aggressive side. But there is a reason for this. Our bull shark is a extremely reactive shark. So they are very curious and they tolerate less when provoked. But like all our animals here on Earth, including our bull shark, they aren't out to hunt or kill you. You aren't on their food menu most of the time. But I think just the environment that they live in, and since humans do a lot of the time enter their homes, like our rivers and our oceans, there is a higher chance of attack. So the attack rate goes up. Now, for this reason only, and because they have the third most unprovoked attacks on humans each year, I am going to rate on a deadly scale for our bull shark an 8 out of 10. They are encountered, again, more frequently because of living in two different habitats and humans exploring both habitats. And they do have a little bit of an aggressive side to them, but they are still absolutely beautiful. Let me know in the comments what you rated our bull shark. I think an 8 out of 10 is a fitting rating, and I don't think it's too harsh. This next animal, though, straight away, as soon as I say its name, you are going to, like me, rate it a 10 out of 10. And that is our box jellyfish. A few episodes ago, we spoke about our box jellyfish here in Australia. So we know that they can kill an adult human within minutes if you do not react fast enough, if you aren't getting medical help right away. We know that you may encounter them more than a single shark. Jellyfish in general tend to, at times of the year in our stinger season, can travel in swarms, in groups. So encountering a whole bunch of jellyfish is obviously a lot higher than encountering one shark in the vast ocean that we have. We also know from our box jellyfish episode is they are more encountered by humans than our sharks. They also have a lot more, I guess, attacks, like stings on humans than our sharks do biting humans. So for this reason, along with their insane venom, which we also learnt from that episode, they are also barely visible. This is a huge factor. You could be swimming and a box jellyfish you will not even see. You know, they really aren't something to mess around with, and it's really important to be aware, especially up in our northern part of Australia and in our summer months. So right now here in Australia, our box jellyfish are one of the most dangerous marine animals. And I don't think there is a rating other than a 10 out of 10 for how deadly our box jellyfish are. They have adapted so well to their environment, and they're not thinking about humans along the way. And I had this conversation with someone just a few weeks ago now. Nature doesn't think about humans. I see so many videos of, avalanches or mudslides or, just anything that comes with nature, even wildlife. And I think a lot of the time humans think that nature needs to think about them, and it doesn't. There's a YouTube channel that I absolutely love binge watching, and it's The Outdoor Boys. And Luke from The Outdoor Boys, he will go camping in Alaska, and some of the time he doesn't even have a tent and he has to build a shelter. And this isn't all fun and games. The temperatures drop to minus 33 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely mental. And it's not just for a YouTube video. Luke from The Outdoor Boys has to survive. This is real surviving. And the weather and nature isn't going to stop and think about humans for 1 second. So although our box jellyfish has killed 79 people, I think since the 1700s or the 1800s, they aren't thinking about humans, but in saying that, they still aren't out to hunt humans. You are way too big to even consider being prey. They will do this in a defense mode, or as we learned in our box jellyfish episode, is when our cells touch their tentacles and react with their stinging cells, this is when they will inject that venom. So they're not doing it on purpose, but it is very deadly and you must seek medical attention right away. You definitely have a lower chance of survival with our box jellyfish than you do with our bull shark. I mean, depending on the attack. But bull sharks don't tend to, once you are bitten, they don't tend to, keep biting, and, they then realize, oh, no, this isn't what I'm looking for, which will happen 8, maybe 9 times out of 10 with our sharks. But box jellyfish definitely earn that 10 out of 10 spot, 100%. Another Australian animal that you might consider putting, at such a high spot, a 10 out of 10, which I actually wouldn't. And there's a few reasons for this. It is our saltwater crocodiles, or you may know them as our estuarine crocodiles. There is a very old episode on the podcast from 2 years ago now on our saltwater crocodiles. But there's so many more great podcasts that you could check out about our saltwater crocodiles. There are YouTube videos if you wanted to learn a little bit more about them. But they aren't our world's, I would say, most vicious or deadly crocodiles. I would definitely give that spot to the Nile crocodile. But our saltwater crocodiles do have one of the strongest bite forces out of all animals, which is absolutely insane. Of course, our saltwater crocodiles aren't just found in salt water. They do, and 9 out of 10 times, they inhabit our freshwater systems. And they live up in our northern part of Australia. So Queensland, into the Northern Territory and over into Western Australia. They live in swamps and rivers and oceans. They are massive. Our saltwater crocodiles can grow up to 6 meters, which is absolutely bizarre, and weigh up to about 1,000 kilograms. You know, these animals are strong. These animals have evolved for success. They have been around since, you know, the dinosaurs. I mean, our saltwater crocodiles evolved around 240 million years ago, and they are one of the oldest living species on Earth today. I would say the only predator that our saltwater crocodile has are humans. Humans still hunt them for no reason at all. If there is an attack of our saltwater crocodiles on a human, they will get killed. They will get shot, just like our sharks here in Australia, which I would absolutely love to speak about in an episode and get your guys' opinions on that. But our saltwater crocodiles are made for this earth. They are also very difficult to see. If you have been up in our northern part of Australia, I have travelled a lot up in our far north part of Queensland, and they are so difficult to see. I mean, this is what makes them excellent hunters. They are ambush predators, so they sit and wait patiently at that water's edge. And then when a human or, a cow or a buffalo, a kangaroo is down drinking, that's when they will strike. They are made for success. They are made for this lifestyle. And this is why it's so important to be croc-wise when you are up in areas of our northern part of Australia where they do live. I was actually driving over a little bridge in the middle of nowhere up in far north Queensland, and there was a tiny creek. And this is another thing. If you're not looking or searching for crocodiles or even wildlife in general, you're probably just going to miss them. I mean, they stay well hidden. They need to survive from predators. But we were crossing a really small bridge. I can't even remember where it was. I want to say somewhere between, maybe it was near Mackay. I couldn't be too sure. But we're crossing it and I'm like, wait, stop, we need to go back. I think there was a crocodile in that water. And every time we were passing over a creek or a bridge and there was water, I would be, hanging out the window trying to look for a crocodile. So we've turned back and it was like a 1-lane bridge. So we had to be really careful that there were no cars coming, 100 kilometers an hour. So we kind of took turns to go on the bridge and have a look. And it was. And can I just say, this crocodile was one of the biggest crocodiles that I have seen. I mean, its back was, at least half a meter across. It was absolutely insane. And the water looked so shallow as well, probably why his back was poking out. But this just proves that if someone were to get out and go down to that water's edge, to fish or to have a little swim in since it was so hot, right there and then there's an attack. So they are well hidden and they are successful in their ambush hunting style. So it's really important to be croc-wise and to stay alert and to not be entering our waterways up in our northern part of Australia. And unfortunately, people still do. Not even tourists, Australians still do, which leads to attacks. There have actually been, in saying this, they are quite rare. Crocodile attacks are quite rare on humans, but when they are fatal. They are absolutely fatal. A crocodile can actually and they have killed around 1,000 people per year. So although this is significantly higher than our box jellyfish, and of course tenfold the amount from our bull sharks, again, they are quite rare. It really is people who are unaware and not really thinking about, they do inhabit our freshwater systems as well. But thinking of all of these and, weighing it out, I'm going to rate our saltwater crocodiles on a scale from 1 to 10 and 8. This is because they're not venomous, attacks are quite rare. Of course, when they are absolutely fatal. But if you are being croc-wise and you are staying out of our, waters up where they do inhabit, your chance of stumbling or coming across a crocodile in an unsafe environment, it's not rare, but it's really not likely, if you're safely in a boat and you're taking, precautions. So for this reason, saltwater crocodiles on our scale, an 8 out of 10. A little animal that I really wanted to bring up, because when I talk to people from outside of Australia, they typically think that we encounter these animals on a daily basis. They are our redback spiders. Now, don't get me wrong, I have even encountered them multiple times in my lifetime, but I am 24. And when I say multiple times, I mean probably 2 or 3 in 24 years. So encountering them is quite low. Although they do live in urban areas where humans do live, you would typically find them in your backyard or in sheds, so under tires which have stayed untouched or unmoved for a decent period of time. But when bitten, if you are bitten by a redback, first of all, they're not very fatal. Bites, you tend to be okay. Of course, seek medical attention if you aren't feeling well at all. But a redback spider tends to only bite when provoked or if you knock down or touch their web. And 9 out of 10 times, this is accidental. This is when, again, if they're under an old tire or in a shed somewhere that you can't see, and you are putting your hand in or around or under, and a redback spider is living there, they will protect their web by biting. They think you're a predator. They think that you're there to kill them. Of course, with a lot of our wildlife bites, attacks, children are a lot more prone to death. So it's really important to seek medical attention right away if a child has been bitten by a redback spider. But a species of spider very similar to our redback, which lives over in the United States, is the black widow. And black widows are a lot more dangerous than our redback spider. So with this in place, I am going to rate our redback, considering that, again, 24 years, I have only encountered them 2-3 times. They tend to stay away from humans, and they only tend to bite if you are knocking down their web, which happens accidentally. I'm going to rate our redback spider a 6 out of 10. This may seem high still, maybe a 5. And I guess this episode is kind of to debunk some of these animals, but I must admit we have been rating them quite high. But our next animal ranks kind of low on the scale, but I have added this one in for myself because growing up, I was always so fearful of these animals, and I thought as a child, growing up, as an adult, I would encounter this animal far more than I actually have. They are our Australian paralysis ticks. Now, in saying that, I have encountered them a few times. One of my dogs, unfortunately, met its end with a paralysis tick. I have had one on my sock before when walking through bushlands, and I am still very fearful of ticks. I think ticks and plovers are two of my most feared animals. They frighten me, but this one's definitely from my childhood. Now, our Australian paralysis ticks live in our eastern part of Australia, and they are a parasite. They are a parasite to mammals. So this can be from latching onto our livestock to, of course, dogs and humans. Our Australian paralysis ticks don't cause massive reactions. I mean, if you have an allergic reaction, this can cause anaphylactic shock, which of course you must get to a hospital straight away. But it's really tough because for the tick to be able to, show signs, flu symptoms and a rash and weak limbs, it must be attached onto a human for at least 5 days. And by those 5 days, 9 out of 10 times, you have probably already found it. But this is different with our, say, dogs. So a lot of the times our paralysis ticks are carried in by possums into backyards. Possums are actually, fun fact, immune to their toxin, to the tick's toxin. So they will carry it in, and this is where it can latch onto dogs. They can also latch onto dogs and humans from grasses. Our Australian paralysis ticks are found in bushlands and grasslands, backyards. But I would really love to know if you guys, if you live here in Australia, have encountered a paralysis tick before, whether on yourself or an animal. Like I said, I've only encountered them a handful of times, 2-3 times perhaps. They are not as fearful as I thought they would be growing up. But again, they need to be latched on for at least 4 to 5 days to have an impact. And by then you've probably already found it. When I had one on my sock, I found it within like 2 seconds. If you are walking through bushlands or grasslands, it's really important to be checking over yourself and the people you're with and showering straight away to make sure you're washing your hair and checking your scalp as well, checking in between fingers just to make sure there are no ticks. But since they are rarely encountered and it takes a few days, and by then you've probably already found it. Obviously, if we're rating it on dogs, the scale goes up, but I'm rating it from humans. I'm going to rate our Australian paralysis tick around a 4.5, maybe a 5, but I think that's a little high. I'm going to go 4.5 out of 10. Let me know what you rate the Australian paralysis tick. I say that I'm fearful about ticks, and I mean, I am a little bit in our plovers, but in saying this, I am so grateful and I feel so lucky to be able to encounter our wildlife and, our crocodiles I've encountered and our sharks and our box jellyfish and the paralysis ticks. Wildlife is so interesting and fascinating, and we are all living organisms just trying to survive every single day. Some have a lot more to fear every day and try to survive than others. Humans are on the top of the food chain. We're on, we don't really have much that we need to fear every single day. So I think when I am encountering these animals, I keep that in mind, and that is why 9 out of 10 times they do, get in defense mode. Snakes will kind of do that S shape up to kind of let you know, hey, please leave me alone. We have animals that will display colorings to give a warning sign. This is because they are trying to survive. I've traveled to, so many places just to see the animals on this list, and all of the episodes that I have created for you guys. I've traveled to Tasmania like 4 times. I'm going again next month. It will be the 5th time to encounter Tasmanian devils and wombats and quolls and platypus. I have been to far north Queensland way too many times. I must stop myself. I always think, I always have like these moments where I'm like, I need to go to far north Queensland when I don't. And it always comes over me. That place will always have, I think, a little special place in my heart. I think the ecosystem up there is so precious and something that is really difficult to find elsewhere in the world. Far north Queensland is a gem, from the wildlife to the rainforest. I mean, we have the Daintree rainforest, which is the oldest rainforest on Earth. That place is so spectacular. You have the Great Barrier Reef on one side, a road in the middle, and a rainforest on the other side with cassowaries and birds and reptiles. See, now I want to go back to far north Queensland. I've headed out west to find brolgas. Oh, I absolutely love brolgas. I think the only time that I've ever cried, but like happy cried, is when I encountered Alberga, because there were so many trips that I took to far north Queensland to find Alberga, and I was so close one time, and we went to a nature reserve, and it was when North Queensland was flooding, and they wouldn't let us in because the road was flooded, and we were so close, so close, I could feel it. But then I took a trip out west to Quilpie a couple months ago, I think after my Europe trip, where, can I just say, encountering wildlife in Europe is something truly spectacular. From the bears to the deer. I seen wild deer in Sweden. It was absolutely incredible. And I love, like, I can go and encounter these animals and then come back and share it with you guys. I absolutely love that. But yeah, I seen a broga out near Quilpie, and it had taken, honestly, probably like 2 years to see a broga. So we were driving, and right there on like the left-hand side, there was just one broga all by itself. If we were like 5 seconds before ourselves, it probably wouldn't have been there. So it was like perfect timing. And seeing the broga in the wild was like relief. And I was just so extremely grateful and happy that the tears just came. That really hasn't happened with a lot of our wildlife, but the broga is definitely one that I will always cherish and remember. And even as like a child watching David Attenborough documentaries, which I still remember to this day, as soon as one would come on, my family would leave. They'd be like, not again. Come on, Courtney. You've already seen this one. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm watching it again. Even like encyclopedias I would collect just so, I was like 5. Let's be honest, I couldn't read the encyclopedia, but I would just look at the pictures and be like, this is the frog that I need to go and see. Like, where can we go to see this? In the Amazon. Oh, I can't get there. Not right now. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for all of the animals that I've encountered. I'm truly so grateful, and I'm grateful that I can now share that knowledge and experiences with a whole bunch of you guys. I had a very lovely girl reach out to me from, I think it was Italy or Spain, and she let me know that she used one of my episodes, I think it was my tree kangaroo episode, for her presentation in her class. Like, you guys don't understand how grateful that makes me. I am so thankful that now, a bunch of classmates of hers now knows about our tree kangaroo, and that might make them want to come over to Australia and encounter our wildlife. And it really is the best outcome that I could have ever asked for. And I'm so grateful. Australia is definitely one of the most beautiful countries that I have ever visited, and I'm thankful that I get to live here. We have 600 national parks just in Australia. I think here in Queensland alone, we have just a bit over 200. I think it's like 230, 240. I think it is the most. New South Wales is like the low 220s or high 220s. But there is so much to see and do and explore. So if you are, please be safe while exploring our beautiful rainforests or oceans or bushlands. There will be so many little eyes on you that you can't even see. And I think about that all the time when I am hiking. There's reptiles and there's, birds and little mammals that they can see you and you can't see them. And I think that's just so spectacular. And it's such a cool thought to think about. But thank you so much. If you have made it all the way to the end of this episode, I hope you had fun. Let me know what you would rate the animals. I am so curious to know, especially from you guys that live over in other countries like the United States. Thank you for listening as well. I know the majority of you are from America, so I am so thankful. Thank you so much. So let me know what you would rate the animals. Next week is going to be a little bit of a different episode as well. It is Christmas week, so I've got a little special episode for you guys. And then going into the new year, if you follow me on Instagram, there will be a little secret that will be exposed, a little update on the podcast for next year, which I'm so excited for. I will give you a little hint. I shouldn't, but I'm so bad at keeping secrets. We are taking it to your country. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, I will see you this time next week. Again, thank you for being so patient with me last week for missing an episode. I appreciate you guys so much. I will be seeing you this time next week. Bye for now.